Dr. Jeff Sadow from LSU Shreveport, poli-sci professor. Hey, Dr. Jeff. Okay, let's talk about the Senate race. A whole bunch of candidates and a whole bunch of guys trying to, and a woman trying to cut through the noise. What's your analysis? What are you thinking the final two are going to be?
I think it could be any of three at this point. That would be State Treasurer John Kennedy, Republican, Charles Bustani, Republican representative, and then Foster Campbell, our area's public service commissioner. There's an outside chance for our area representative, John Fleming, and then who's a Republican, and the Democrat lawyer, Carolyn Fayard, to make it in. But I think it's probably going to be two of those first three.
The big story all along has been, at least to me, as whether or not Ms. Fayard was going to milk enough votes off of Democrat votes from Foster Campbell to put two Republicans into the runoff. What do you think?
Yeah, really, the only way that's going to happen is if there's a near split in the black vote, which is going to be the majority of either of their coalition. So if it's 50-50, then chances are, in essence, they'd be close enough in terms of numbers that a second Republican could get by them. But if one of them is able to even get 60-40, certainly 2-1, then it's highly likely that particular candidate's going to be able to make it into the runoff.
Jeff, will it be telling when that first precinct, which is the early voting precinct, when that's opened and 515,000 votes are cast, will you be able to tell something from that right away?
Yeah, you can. If you look at the 2012 results, you'll find that, and even adjusting for changes in party registration, that Republicans did a little bit better in terms of early turnout, and there were, in terms of racial breakdown, blacks were a little bit down, whites were a little bit up. So that would tend to favor the Republican candidates in this instance, and would make it more likely that there'd be two Republicans in the runoff. In
your mind is not to say done deal with Kennedy securing at least one of the spots, but do you think it's going to be John Kennedy and any one of two or three other guys?
Yeah, Kennedy's the most likely one to be in the runoff. And then, again, really at this point, it's a toss-up between Bustani and Campbell.
Let's switch to our congressional race here. 8 people, 7 people still in the race, I think. What is that looking to shape up like?
Well, there's really been no polling, at least released from to the public in that particular contest, so it's kind of hard to judge what's going on there. But it would seem, that we're going to obviously have one Republican in the runoff, and we may have two. It really depends upon, I think, how Elbert Guillory is the only guy who's not from this area in the contest. He's a Republican, but he's the only black Republican. And he comes from the southern part of the district. And if we look at past results back when we had the party primaries in 2008, when you had a kind of a similar profile Democrat candidate, although one who raised far more money and campaigned much better than the one we have right now. He was only able to, against a black candidate in a Democrat primary, to secure 60% of the vote in that particular primary. So translating that today, that means if Guillory does well enough, he is likely to pull a significant portion of the black vote, maybe 10-20%, something like that. If he does that, then that's going to make it difficult for Marshall Jones, who's the Democrat in the race, and from here, they make him difficult to make the runoff against the three, not only Guillory, but three other pretty well-financed Republicans.
That's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing that Marshall Jones, just having that D out there, is gonna win him a spot in the runoff. You don't agree with that, then?
Well, no, I think it's still more likely than not that that's going to happen, since he is the only one. But he hasn't run the greatest of campaigns. He only pulled in something like $50,000 in the last reporting requirement. He's been outspent by all three of the major Republicans by at least 2 to 3 to 1. So, there's not a lot of enthusiasm for his candidacy out there, and that's something that may end up costing him.
So let's assume for the moment that your Jones/Guillory black vote theory is right, and you're looking at two Republicans into the congressional runoff. Which two do you see? Who's number one? Who's number two? Who's number two? Who's number one?
Well, right now, it's difficult to tell. It's going to be really close, but I suspect, just my guess is, be Mike Johnson, followed by Oliver Jenkins, followed by Trey Bauckham.
The Republicans have been bashing each other. Did that kind of surprise you in this race?
Well, it really only started happening late, and it's really more Baucom bashing Johnson than anybody else, because those two candidates are trying to corner the market on being the maybe most conservative out there. Jenkins is more what we might call Main Street Republican, allied more with the business community. And so it's kind of the same market Baucom and Johnson are going after, and Baucom presents himself as the outsider candidate, as his ace in the hole. And Johnson, of course, can, in a short but productive legislative career, at least in terms of some of the high-profile issues that he's handled. So, he falls back on that, demonstrate that he's tried to get things done, and Baucom, basically says a pox on anybody who's been in office, and criticized Johnson for votes that, in effect, raise taxes. So it's really just been on that part of the market. Really, other than that, it's been fairly low-key and not very negative.